Actually the last video I will make for you guys because we are due to map testing, and some of you coming in for the 2 full days of map testing on the 17th and 18th, I think. We are making our lessons so that they will all be due on the 25th. So this will be the 12th through the 25th. So it's actually a couple of weeks. We will be just kind of enjoying some dystopian reading during our last few weeks, and then kind of summing that, we'll kind of sum that up with some additional reflection. So we will get started. All right, so you're going to see that I will turn this into an Edpuzzle video. And then you are going to be reading and annotating several pieces of text. So you're going to read a nonfiction text called Child Soldiers. You're going to read 2 to 3 different poems that are dystopian poetry. And then you will also read Harrison Bergeron. So then you will add to your essential questions brainstorming, and then you will have a final assessment over Unit 6, and then you will need to also turn in your reading log. So just like we've done in the past on a discussion board. I just haven't got that made yet. So, all right. So here's, I think, a good quote for what dystopian is. I think dystopian futures are also a reflection of our current fears. So when we get authors that are, and this is by Lauren Oliver, we get authors that write about certain things in their books that kind of, that's a dystopian theme. It just kind of reflects kind of what we're worried about in our own actual lives. All right, back to our essential questions. How does language influence the world? Do individuals or external forces have more power to impact change? And how do the universal truths, which are basically your themes and lessons discovered by characters in dystopian novels, influence and connect to me? So here is our nonfiction dystopian. I'm going to have you, there's a short video here about a child soldier. And I want you to read, after you watch this short video, I want you to read the text. You will, if you notice in Schoology, over here in this week, I have things divided into 2 weeks, but you certainly don't have to do it that way. You notice I haven't divided the assignments into 2 weeks, but they are not due till May 25th. The organization is my suggestion so that the readings make sense. So if you look in May 12th through 19th, you'll see Child Soldiers. You will read and annotate this. Hopefully you all still have Kami, because that was something Ms. Davis had you using during science. It makes it turning in a lot easier if you open it with Kami. So once you open it, you are going to see that this is about Ishmael, who was born in Sierra Leone. So this is a nonfiction piece about what has happened to his country. So if you will read and annotate that text, and this is a short little clip about Ishmael. So you will try to make connections to the essential questions that we just went over. You are looking for the who, what, when, where, and why. You're looking for the overarching ideas, the themes and central idea, and you're also going to be looking at what type of text structure that is. So you will be annotating that text. Then I am not asking you all to do any kind of text discussion yet. You will read and annotate that and really think about those ideas. And then you will turn that in so that I can see your annotations. Remember, annotations aren't just highlighting. It's actually looking for the who, what, where, when, why. It's writing your questions and your ideas along in the text boxes. So please do that. All right, after you read that text about child soldiers and connect it to your three learning ideas or big ideas and questions, then you're going to move on to dystopian poetry. So there are 3 texts here: The Forecast, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, and The Unknown Citizen. So when you look in Schoology, I have, it says read and annotate 2 of the poems So read and annotate 2 of the poems. And so when you open this up, you're going to see they're pretty short. I would encourage you to read all 3, but you don't have to. And there they are. I did include in this, the text is here along with what I'm wanting you to look for. I want you to, again, to look for connections to the essential questions. Look at the style, the sound, the structure, like we talked about with poetry. I did, for 2 of the poems, I did find readings for them so you could actually listen to Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, so that you could do your annotations. And then I also found The Unknown Citizen being as I read aloud, so you could connect that. Again, look for those metaphors and similes, that figurative language. Those are going to be important things to look for so that you can figure out the meaning. And again, it's always going back to these 3 questions. How does that language influence the world? How do individuals or external forces have more power to impact change? And how do universal truths discovered by dystopian characters connect to me? And the next thing you will be doing is moving on to step 2 in your brainstorming. So I had already given you this this assignment, and you had only done the pink sections. Now on this assignment, you're moving on to the next color. So I'm going to open that up so that you can see that. So that was essential questions brainstorming. Let's see, and it looks like this. So you will have already done the pink sections, the personal connections. Now you're on step 2, the adding the evidence. So after having read various types of dystopian literature, which by now, you know, we've read 3. So we've read The Child Soldiers, we've read the poetry, and we read Old Glory. So it is not necessary to write out responses to all the following follow-up questions, but recording evidence from various texts will be useful. Read through them, think about the answers, use specific evidence from your text to create full responses. So you will have already done the pink, so you're on the yellow. How does language influence the world? So think about those texts that we read, and how does that language that they've used in the text influence the world? Like, what new words have you noticed? What word choices did they use? Have you come across any euphemisms or connotations? You may have to look up those words if you don't know what those are. What character in your novel uses their words to influence others? What characters are affected by the words of others? And then why are some characters more successful than others in achieving what they want? Do they have certain traits? So think about Ishmael. That might help you too. All right, so do individuals or external forces have more power to impact change? So look at these questions to help you. What and who are the individuals and external forces in your book? What changes are the individuals trying to make? What changes are the external forces trying to make? Who is succeeding at this point? Who is failing? And then for that third question on the yellow on adding evidence, remember, try to go back into that text and find the evidence for this. What themes, morals, or lessons did you learn from, it says novel, but any of those texts? What events does the main character endure and aid in teaching you these themes? What universal truth does the character learn as a result? What connections can you make to these events? What connections can you make to the character and how she responds to the events? And can any of these themes or universal truths benefit you when making future decisions? So again, that is step 2 that you will be doing. So that is what this one is all about. So think about quotes, line numbers, detailed paraphrasing. That's really focusing on this evidence part, because you're going to need that for our end of the project. And then we have one more dystopian fiction piece to read. This one is Harrison Bergeron. And I have it here so that you can listen to it. And then if you're in Schoology, it is in, let's see, it is, let me go back to our folder for the week. So Harrison Bergeron is in the May 20th through 26th folder. So you will read and annotate this story. This one, again, think about specific evidence from the text and how these three big questions line up with that. I do have, this video should work for you. I asked you to think about fairness is more important than freedom. Determine if you agree or disagree with that statement. That's going to have part of what you're going to do with this text. I would also love for you to be able to watch this little short film adaptation. The only problem is you have to sign up to watch it. It's no longer free on the internet, but this is a short film adaptation of the movie. So it's not anything you have to watch because it does require you to sign up. It doesn't cost anything, but I know a lot of you probably won't feel comfortable doing that, so that's just fine. You don't need to watch it as long as you've read / listen to the text. And for this one, really make connections to those essential questions. Think about the character's trait and changes that the character goes through, the setting and the mood, the point of view, the theme, the conflict, and the resolution. This one, this is a short clip on deviance and how Harrison Bergeron could be considered a social deviant. For the class, we're only going to be watching the first 2 minutes of this because it's really just a definition of what deviant means. We wouldn't watch the whole thing. So if you want to watch the first couple of minutes of this, you can. You do not have to. And then you are ready for step 3. All right, step 3 of the assignment is the other color. I think it's green. All right, so for the green section, this is your final written response for this. So your final response should be written in paragraph form. In paragraph form and include a claim, evidence, and reasoning. All right, so that's where this gets this. This is going to be a paragraph. You're going to make a claim. How does language influence the world? You're going to provide evidence from the text that you had just read, and then you will provide the reasoning. So I would go back to what we learned in our last unit. Remember, we had a whole structure that helped you write that paragraph with the claim, evidence, and reasoning. That will help you write these final responses. So again, this is going to be a paragraph form. So you will, again, answer the question, do individuals or external forces have more power to impact change? So again, you're going to have to make your claim, and then you're going to have evidence to include in that from the text that you've read. And then the same thing on this one. This one will be a paragraph, and you need to make a claim. How do the universal truths discovered by characters in dystopian novels connect to me? So this is going to be pretty personal. So you're going to make a claim on how those universal truths affect you. And then you will have evidence from your texts. So we will have read 2 fiction texts, Old Glory and Harrison Bergeron. We will have read 2 to 3 poems, dystopian poems, and 1 nonfiction text. So you can use evidence from any of those to help you write your final response. I will show you in this week. So you'll see, so after you do Harrison Bergeron, this is a discussion about choose one of the essential questions to respond to with your brainstorming. How does language influence the world? So that's just your discussion part so that you're actually interacting with each other. And then your essential questions, this is your final. You are on step 3 of this assignment. Step 3, choose 2 of the questions and write your final responses for both of them on your dystopian essential question guide. Response should be in paragraph form and include claim, evidence, and reasoning. So this is the final. So that is actually worth 6 points because you're doing, so it'll be an 80% assignment worth 6 points. So not a lot of points, but still. And then the other thing it will add to this, but it's not here yet, is just your 80% reading data log that you've been reading. Again, you can count these stories, these texts that we're reading as a part of your data log. All right, so that should kind of wrap up everything. Hopefully you guys will get a lot of good information out of these texts and do some good reflecting about how these texts, these dystopian texts, connect to real life and how they influence how the language that we use influences the world, and how and whether or not you think individuals or external forces have more power, and then whether or not universal truths that you discover through these characters and how they connect to you. So hopefully you'll get a lot out of that. All right, remember, reach out to me on Teams or through email if you need anything, and hope you guys are doing great. It's almost the end of the year, so it's kind of a busy time, so I get it. So please reach out if you need anything. Take care.